Tezlom Podcast. It's going to be a slightly difficult one, this one for me, because I know this guy quite well to a certain degree. We've had quite a lot of chats, but I kind of know where I want to go with it. But first of all, it doesn't really need to introduce yourself, but could you please introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, all right. So I'm Ed Purnell, and I help franchisors to fine-tune their franchise recruitment and amplify their growth.
Okay. We're going to talk about franchising at some point in this podcast, but I want to talk what we were talking about downstairs before, and treating people like a child and like children. What do you think?
Yeah.
It was an interesting chat, that, wasn't it?
Yeah. I guess more recently, actually, I've been feeling that I haven't grown up as much as some other people have, You see, you hear a lot of stuff, especially when you listen to a lot of podcasts, and you're like, man, I'm not grown up at all. But and sometimes you beat yourself up about that sort of stuff, right? But what we were saying downstairs is that actually we should perhaps be more childlike, because they haven't got all those inhibitions, have they?
All them guards up and all them walls and...
Yeah, exactly. So I was saying to you about my daughter just not caring who it is in her class who's upset. She'll go over there and look after them, give them a hug, bring them through it, and it's like, that's more like what we should all be like, because we might not approach someone because we think they might be offended that some random person's coming up and saying, "Are you okay?" when you know nothing about them. My daughter's like, whatever, I'll just go over there and make sure they're right.
Yeah, it's such a nice chat, wasn't it? I took something from that before. I was like, I do actually try and live my life a little bit like that, but being more childlike is the key. I talked to you about Jackson with that Indian little boy who started in his class, and he was trying to pronounce his name, and then he said he's got no friends, and then he made friends with him, and he was like, he's going to teach me how to talk Indian. And I was just like, that's so good. And I think he's been to a birthday party with him since, and like he's like become big favourite in the class. And I love that how people, they just embrace newness, embrace new people in their life, want people to feel good. And sometimes it doesn't always feel like that in the business world or the adult world, does it?
No, not at all. So the other thing my daughter's done recently, so she has an Asian friend in her class. Well, her family are Asian. She was born in the UK, this little girl. She's gone around their house, and they've got these little snacks called Horflakes, right? Which sounds really wrong, doesn't it?
Yeah.
They're just like pressed fruit little things, and bubble tea and all that kind of stuff. And she's tried it all around there. She's gone, can we go get some? I want to go to the Asian shop, supermarket, and go. And she's in there, and she just wants to try absolutely everything.
It's amazing, isn't it?
I'm so proud of her, because when I was a kid, I remember just like, I'm not eating onions. I still don't eat tomatoes, to be fair. I'm not eating oranges. I'm not trying any of that weird stuff at all. But she's totally embraced it, and it's like prefers that stuff a lot of the time, which is really nice to see. And
something in it, mate. And I think we both could take something from that chat. Just embracing new stuff. Yeah. The other question I was going to ask you, and this I don't know what you're going to say. It might be too deep. What's better, big career or being self-employed?
I've not really had the big career, right?
But you did have a big career, though, didn't you?
It's been all right. I mean, it's not been that massive, but it's being self-employed is an easy one, really, because I didn't have the kids back when I was in a career, but I get to spend a lot more time with them.
Is that the main thing?
Get to do that kind of stuff, but also get to be myself a lot more. In corporate, right, you get told your uniform, and instantly that's stripping away something from you, isn't it? And you get told kind of scripts, and this is how you're going to do things. You have to follow someone else's process. And I didn't realise it, but I've always struggled to follow other people's processes a lot of the time. I like to do my own thing and just whatever feels right at the moment. And
you have got a rebellious side to you, haven't you?
Yeah, apparently so. Yeah,
you have. You say it in a really diplomatic way, and you don't come across like a renegade, but you have got a renegade side to you.
I guess just get to that point where I was like, I've had enough of just doing stuff for other people. So I guess in my career, what I saw, and the people that I worked for, they've all been great, right? So I don't want that to come out of this that I've not enjoyed it.
Because they give you all the skills and you loved it and stuff like that. There's nothing wrong with that.
At times it's been frustrating and stuff like that. But like when you stay with a company for long enough, you start to kind of learn about, you go almost higher up the hierarchy and understand kind of what their drivers are and what they want. And when you get to the person at the top and you kind of go, so what is it they actually want? It's maybe to fill their pockets to give to their kids. That doesn't align with me. And like, that's not what I want to do.
Yeah.
So all the stuff like earning commission and things like that, it almost doesn't fill you with joy. It's good. You get the money. You can go and do nice things, go traveling or whatever. But it doesn't kind of fill your days with joy. So being self-employed, if I want to start a new podcast, I can just go out and start a new podcast and it'll be whatever it is that I want it to be. If I want to go and sell a particular service or product, or if I don't want to work with that person, it's my choice at the end of the day. And and I guess then sort of going on that rebellious bit, so coming into the franchising industry, I saw a lot of the stuffiness that I wanted to get away from, because I could see that it just goes up the hierarchy. That's not me. And so that's why I just did things like start a podcast and start an argumentative podcast and shit like that,
Yeah, no, it's good. He's good. He's good. He's not. I mean the rebellious. I mean doing the disenfranchised podcast and the other podcast he did. I feel like for me, it's. I mean, you've always given me loads of advice and help, and we've had some really good conversations, and I'll always be eternally grateful for you for it. I think we've got a nice relationship. But I think even when I've talked to you behind closed doors or just on the phone, there's always been an element of you where you're like, yeah, but I want to do this, or do this, or want to do it that way, and it's a nice trait to have that, I think. But I think that's probably. Would you say that's always been within you?
It's difficult to know, really. I've not can't speak properly, and I haven't got a very good memory. Like, I tend to try and live in. Well, I don't try to. I tend to live in the moment.
Yeah.
So I'm not very good at future planning for myself and looking back. Kind of what's happened. It's more about kind of enjoying the moment, really. So I don't remember a lot of that stuff. And my mum, bless her, she just tells me that I was such a good boy, really well behaved, and all of that. My son, though, he is rebellious. He is defiant, and I think he probably gets a lot of that from me.
That's got to say.
Naturally from me. And so when I talk to my mum about him, she's like, "Oh, you used to do that, and that's fine." I was like, "Okay, but he's a pain in the arse."
Yeah.
I love him for it, but yeah, I think I probably have been. But I guess the other signs of it are like going out with my mates. We'd all go out together and start drinking, but as soon as you get to a point in the evening, I'd be like, I'm just going to go meet some new people and just wander off. I'd just go and do my own thing, because that was what was fun for me at that moment in time. And so I don't know if it's rebellious, it's just kind of,
I don't know what the right word is, but I know what you mean.
Following the path that feels right at the moment. In the moment,
Yeah. Maybe rebellious is the wrong word, but happy with your own sense of direction or something like that, isn't it? There's something the right terminology, but I can't put a finger on it right this second, but I'll think about it.
Yeah, but there's then the other battle, which is not having self-confidence.
Yeah.
It's weird. I think it depends sometimes. I don't know if you find it, but it depends on how your mood is. Depends on how you kind of reflect on yourself. So sometimes I am hyper confident and just like, right, I'm just doing it. Bosh, get out there and see what happens. Who cares?
Yeah.
Like starting a business, I was in that frame of mind. I was like, well, if it doesn't work out, I'm just going to go and find another job. It'll be easy, fine. But in another moment, then when you're not feeling so good about yourself, you kind of look at you criticize yourself and like really are harsh on yourself about everything, and it's like, I'm shit at everything.
Yeah.
I've got these two sides, and I don't know if that's like, I don't think it's anything like bipolar or anything like that, but there's two conflicting angel and devil sort of stuff going on. But I don't know if you imagine have some of that as well, but I wonder if it's in everybody,
Yeah, I don't know if it is. Kay, would you say it's in everyone?
I'd say yeah, but I think what's going on at that time, where you work, who you surround yourself with, what you're taking in determines which way you go.
Yeah. I think I was going to say something similar. I think your activities, what you've been doing, I think who you've been around, and sleep are like the key.
Sleep's probably a big one that I'm noticing at the minute.
I think they're the three things that I've noticed in myself. Who I've been talking to that week, who have been around, what's them conversations been like? Because if they've been like stressful, central nervous system feels shocked, I've been upset, angry, that affects my sleep.
Yeah.
If my sleep's affected, everything's bad. And then activities, what I've been doing, drinking, I've been taking drugs, I've been staying up late, I've been having conversations with people I don't know who aren't on the same page as me and then changing my thought patterns. Or have I been doing meditation, have I been doing yoga, have I been doing running, have I been training? I think those three things mixed together kind of determine my thought process.
Yeah.
Like very recently, obviously I'm getting separated now. I'm going through this divorce and I'm very high. Like one day I can be like, yesterday I went home at 10 o'clock and got in bed and spent the whole day in bed and ordered 25 quid from McDonald's.
Yeah.
But that activity I needed to do that day to make myself feel better. I knew exactly what I needed to do and I went and did it. And today I feel amazing. I feel really good. I had the kids last night. We watched a big new film and it was really good. And I think if I'd gone to the pub with my mate and said, do you fancy a pint? And I'd been in the pub from fucking 2 o'clock. Today would be a very, very difficult day because I've had a shit night's sleep or I've had alcohol and I've been around someone who probably isn't giving me the right advice.
Yeah. The bit about being around the right people is really important, actually. And you hear it in all those self-help books and podcasts.
It's like
and all
Instagram.
that sort of stuff. And you think that's a load of bollocks, isn't it? Right.
Yeah,
but like that's kind of my first thoughts. But in starting my podcast, what I found is that I was surrounding myself with people like yourself, like business owners, and thinking a completely different way to my mates, you know?
Yeah.
You know, they've got their lives and that's good, but none of them really own a business. There's one or two that do, but hanging around with the franchisors, although we're not properly mates, just hanging around them and hearing the way they talk, I think part of that gave me that confidence just to go,
yeah, of course,
just do it. Like, what's the worst going to happen?
Yeah, I think I hate it because it's so cliche, but and it is in every single Instagram post, and it is like love, live, laugh signs on the wall in the lounge, but it literally is a lot of you can systematically remove people from your life and systematically start hanging around with different people and change who you are. Because I've done it. I've reduced my friendship group considerably. I literally have very little friends around me, and I'm very careful at who I have conversations with, and I did it deliberately. I made a choice to remove them people from my life. Literally, stop talking to them, remove them from social media, don't speak to them, stop returning calls, stop going out with them, and because I made a choice that person was no longer. They're not a bad person. They're not a toxic person. They don't take drugs. They're not fucking bad for me in that respect. But the conversations I have weren't filling my head with the fuel that I need.
Yeah.
And it's selfish and it's harsh and it's makes them feel whatever they need to feel. But for me,
you needed it. Yeah.
I needed it.
Yeah.
And I think it's a brave thing to do, but I'm glad I did it.
Yeah.
And I think it's just. And I think who you speak to on a daily or weekly basis. Now, you're always going to speak to your wife. You're always going to speak to your kids. You're going to always have one or two friends. But I think if you can push your conversations out, I think it does take you leaps and bounds.
Yeah.
I think it does take... I wouldn't want not to speak to Kay every day of my life. I don't think. I think we speak...
Ask me the same question.
Yeah. And I think it's good to have your people who pour into you and pour out of you, and I think that's massive.
Do you find they come from surprising places, those good people as well, though?
Yeah, I think they do. I think I never see you in a different light. You're like me. If I talk to you in this podcast, you're exactly the same as we're in my office downstairs, and you're exactly the same on your events, and you're exactly the same when you're walking around the camera at an expo. You don't change who you are. And I think as long as you're like that, that invites new people into your life, and I think it's embracing them new people if you feel right for you.
It's interesting you say that, because I've always felt that I do change slightly depending on the person.
Yeah.
Not not cynically, I'm not going, right, I'm going to be like this because that person's like that, but because I kind of mimic their actions and approach. Do you know, a mimicing's not the right word, but...
Yeah, but that's a salesman. That's a salesman in the end, isn't it?
Well, so I've been listening to a podcast, an audio book, and I've only got a little way through it, so I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but they talk about super communicators sort of naturally do that, and I think you're one of those, that you read the room, you read the person, and adjust ever so slightly according to that person. And you're right, a lot of sales or good salespeople do that. I
call it the chameleon effect, being able to just adapt to situations. But I stay to who I am generally all the time. But I might not swear as much if I'm around a certain age bracket, or I won't talk about a certain subject that I often joke about. But because I know I can't do that right now.
Yeah. I mean, we'll have a laugh and a joke that's I wouldn't do with someone else over there, because you just sort of temper it a little bit. But I think part of it as well is I was talking about the clothing in being in an office working for someone else. You've got that uniform.
Yeah.
Ever since I've stopped doing that and I just wear hoodies and whatever I feel comfortable in, shirts and whatever I feel like at the time, I find I bring the people that are like that to me, to my business, and that's great because I don't want to work really 100%. With the stiffs that much. Do you know what I mean?
It's a big topic. That's brand. That's about it's about your personal brand and who you are and who you want to work around you, because you. But it's all. Do you get this though? Do you struggle with not being liked, or people? Because I get that, mate. Because I've got hand tattoos, I swear, I turn up to expos in trackies. I notice there's sometimes a frostiness from certain individuals in the franchise industry, because I think they want to put that barrier in place because they're like, who is this guy and what is he like? And then the ones that do know me, they don't care. They can have a suit on and they don't give a shit. They'll hug me and we'll have a good chat because they know that I'm not like whatever they're creating an environment. Have you found that yourself?
Maybe I'm blinkered, but I don't see it that much.
Yeah.
And I kind of don't care when I'm on a good day. Do you know what I mean? Other times it's like perhaps I should go back and be a bit more business-like. The business in brackets, and be. I was contemplating coming here. I was like, right, obviously people are going to see this. Should I be the guy who
puts
the shirt on to smarten up and sit upright and all that kind of stuff? And then I was like, what's Ryan going to say if I turn up in a three-piece suit and all that? You'd be ripping into me, wouldn't you? So oh, fuck it, no, just be myself. And if people like it, they'll be attracted to that. If they're not, then that's it. And
but you can do both.
Not to pull it into franchising too quickly, but I think the same with when you're putting your brand out there, right? It's show the authentic stuff that goes on, the real people, and sometimes that's staged. Nice camera set up, putting a shirt on to kind of answer some questions isn't always the right way. I think it's got its place sometimes, but
it becomes too DFS. No disrespect to DFS because they're amazing, and they're a massive company. But I mean that it becomes a little bit too the same. That's what I think. Sometimes it becomes a bit too the same.
You can't see the personality.
No, it loses its personality a little bit, but. Everyone goes shops at DFS, I guess. So I could be wrong. Do you get what I mean? There's some wrongness in what I'm saying. Everyone fucking knows who it is, don't they? But I don't know if it's got its personality. It's lost its personality a bit.
Maybe, but they've got the monopoly a little bit, haven't they?
Yeah, I suppose.
If you go elsewhere, you've got to pay a lot more money to pay for that personality.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe I should put my prices up.
Maybe you should. I don't know. Fuck knows. Let's talk a little bit about franchising, because it'd be interesting. I want to hear. I know your journey, but I want other people to hear your franchising journey. Talk to me a little bit. How did you get into franchising? Where did you start your career? You didn't go to uni, did you?
No.
You didn't go to uni, did you?
No.
So what happened when you left school? What happened there?
I don't know if I told you the story of kind of why I ended up leaving school.
No, go on.
So I was always the good kid at school. Well, one of the good kids at school, right? In and around the teachers.
Were you academic, were you? Or?
I didn't study hard. I was naturally pretty good at some stuff, like maths. It was if I got taught it, it's like, okay, I know the basic formula. So the next time it comes around, it's like, okay, I don't need to go and study and cram. It was just like quickly beforehand, what's that formula? As long as I can remember that formula, it's like done. Do you know what I mean? I found that side of stuff really easy. Creative writing came fairly easy, but I probably could have got a lot better grades at GCSE level if I actually applied myself a lot harder. You know, there was geography, right? They wanted you to do this report on. I can't remember what it was. It's too boring to remember. But everyone else has come up with this big stack of papers like that. I've spent the night before and got about 20 pages pulled together. Yeah. And I think my grade, they were saying to me, looks like off the back of your coursework, you're going to fail, basically. I got into the exam and pulled it up to a D, and that was my favourite result because I was like, man, I'm good in exams. Like,
no way.
I got like an A in maths and B in English and stuff like that, you know, so it's all right. But anyway, so in the classroom, I was pretty well behaved and all that kind of stuff. Outside of school or during breaks and stuff like that, I was generally pretty good as well. But, man, it's the rebellious bit that I wouldn't put shoes on. I'd just walk around school in trainers. Yeah. Untucked shirt, tie off, because I'll be playing football at lunchtime.
Where's that come from, Ed? Is your dad a bit rebellious? Your mum or your brother, your sister, or something? Where's that come from? That
don't know, to be honest.
You need to dig into that.
Honestly, I don't know. Actually, probably do. It's my mum.
Is she a bit creative? Your mum or something? What does your mum do for a job?
At the minute, she's cats protection. She volunteers.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, she doesn't like going to the doctor. She's like, no, fuck that. And she gets that from my granddad. I remember, so my granddad was a fisherman when I knew him anyway. I think he was in the Navy before that or something. But he wouldn't go to the doctors or dentists or anything. And I remember we turned up one time at his boat, and he's there with blood pouring down his front. He's pulled his teeth out with pliers, and he's got a bottle of whiskey in his hand. Just yank this one out. That's
where your mum's got it from, and she's given it you, hasn't she?
Probably, yeah. She's got other stories, like she used to work at the local zoo, and there'd be celebrities that come along, you know, and she's told me about it. Damon Hill tried to skip the queue, you know, famous racing driver at the time. And she went, "Oi, you're not jumping in. I don't care who you are and how fast you are. You get to the back of the queue."
Yeah, I love that.
It's like, I don't care who you are, you know, what level you think you're at. You're just another person. You're
another human being. Yeah.
So anyway, so I got in sixth form, and I was basically just walking around, dressing however I wanted to. And some classes I was in, some I wasn't. My art teacher, bless him, one of them I'd go to and be like, I want to go get some inspiration from in town, is that cool? And he's like, yeah man, just take your notepad and all that. I will. We'll just seafront sort of town, go check out the boats and stuff like that. And then there's the other one. I'll be like, so I haven't got enough money for lunch today, can I just borrow like £5 or £10 or something like that? And then go to the pub with my mates and play pool. That's what we used to do, and then come back later. And I wasn't doing that well, because when you got to that level in education, you needed to apply yourself a bit more than I was. And I remember the deputy head came up to me one day in the hallway and said, look, the way you're dressing, the way your grades are going, you've got to sort yourself out, otherwise you're going to end up getting expelled. It's not good enough. Yeah. So I swore at him, stuck my fingers up and said, fuck this then, I'm leaving. And that was pretty much it.
That's it, you just walked out and left?
Pretty much, yeah. I spoke to my form tutor, who's the art teacher, and he was like, going to art college and do something like that. But I had a part-time job putting up marquees, and that was fun. I was hanging out with my mates and playing football and drinking, and I ended up doing that for 8 years in the end. Which was too long by at least a couple of years. Yeah, didn't really grow up is what happened. And for the last 2 years I was trying. I sort of left for a couple of months, did some call centre stuff, and went back. And then I got to that point where I was, my brain just wasn't being challenged, you know, like I was bored. Yeah. I was bored. I was smarter than what that job was offering me. There was only so much swinging a sledgehammer around you can do.
What age was that about, Ed? When you left?
So I left school when I was 16, 17. Then I was there for 8 years. So I'd been like 24, 25, something like that. And part of that is because my wife was, we'd got together before that, and see what she was doing, and seemed to be interested. And so she's doing recruitment.
Right, yeah.
And so she just sort of helped me guide into that path, really, and sort of fell into recruitment. Started on a temporary contract. 3 months in, the recession hit, and I still managed to stay there for 2.5 years. So
did all right.
Sorry,
did all right then, didn't you?
I must have done something all right.
Yeah.
Like to have stuck it out for that long during a recession, when everything was
just on its
fucked.
ass. Yeah.
So then left there for. It's a small consultancy, but we were recruiting internationally for companies like E&I. So E&I are like BP or Shell, but their head office or all of that's in Italy. So I was recruiting people from all over the world to go and work in Angola, Mexico, Australia, all sorts of places, the Caspian Sea, all over the place. And these big big earners, some of them earning 300,000
mad, that, isn't it?
plus per year, and only working half of it,
Yeah, different world.
Yeah, I guess.
Different.
It's mad. But they're all the same at the end of the day. They're just like another person.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, I know some people who earn that sort of money, and it's I don't know how. I guess sometimes it's hard work, isn't it? Being in the right place at the right time, or just building yourself up. But so they are just the same people. But I think most people who earn that sort of money are quite chilled, are quite realistic. Well, from my people I know who earn that sort of money, they're very real, very normal people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just got themselves into a situation where they're giving a lot of money a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Some of it's risk though in the oil and gas industry. So you heard a lot of stories about the camps that they go. So a lot of them, they go to camps for 28 days and they don't go outside that camp.
Wow.
They've got restaurants on site, gyms and all that kind of stuff. But it's all, they'll get driven to there with security guards in a big 4x4. They've all got their vests on and machine guns and stuff like that, escorted into the site and out again and stuff like that. One guy I spoke to, so it wasn't a project I was working on, but it was the Insala project. It's somewhere in North Africa. I think maybe it was Algeria or somewhere. But anyhow, he was there when their refinery or wherever he was working was attacked. And he was telling me the whole story of we were just hiding under the desks, we could hear, we had doors locked and all this scary stuff, like other guys that are driving along in their Jeeps and they get pulled over, all the tyres are slashed and it's like war zone outside,
You just wouldn't do it, would you? But that's why they get paid.
That's what they're getting paid. A lot of them, they're getting paid the money. And they're maybe just like commercial managers, do you know what I mean? They're not even on the rigs or something like that. They're just in an office.
Still be going on that now, won't they? Still be doing that job.
Yeah, definitely. Like places like Nigeria, there's oil bubbling up out the ground, or the pipeline's pretty shallow, and you'll get people that just come along armed and just try and take the oil because they can, a bucket full of oil is going to sort them out for X amount of time.
No way. Mad life, innit? Different world, different ballgame.
Yeah. So I learned a lot from doing that and speaking to those people, and I think recruitment's good because it helps you to learn about businesses in general, like how they're structured and how, and especially the oil and gas, like how the world works, because it's insane the stuff that's out there. We just take for granted, like you get gas come through into your house, and it comes from some sort of pipeline somewhere, but where does that actually come from? What's actually happened? And I mainly worked at the front end, so it's called feed. So the people that do the design and commercial and all the buying and procurement and supply chain and all that good stuff. But you sort of just look into it because it's interesting.
Yeah. Well, I guess you have to. It's like Jake who works for us. He has to understand what he's doing because, well, when you're placing someone that sort of money, you can't sound like a dick on the phone. You've got to know what you're talking about, haven't you?
Yeah.
So it's interesting how you got.
I mean, you can wing it for a bit,
but there's going to be someone who's going to wrap you around the finger in and go like, "You don't know what you're talking about."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you want that credibility, can't you?
Yeah.
I think you have to sort of wing it a little bit at the start when you're trying to learn. No, actually nowadays I don't think you do. I think it's better to question and be honest with people. But that's what I felt at the time, I guess, in recruitment. It was like it's because you're made to wear that front, and you've got to be the professional, super amazing brand.
Yeah.
Now I think about it, whereas I don't do that anymore. I'd rather question, be curious.
Yeah, transparent.
Yeah, whereas before it was more
Blag it.
Yeah.
I mean, fake it till you make it does work to a certain degree, but also I think the world has changed. I think people aren't scared of asking the curious questions. Even if you're recruiting someone, almost like, how do you know about this? And I think if you've flagged it, I think you look stupid and you lose credibility. Like I remember when I started in recruitment, and I was very much like, I don't know anything about education, but I just learned asking questions and sitting down. And I was really transparent with the people, like the business managers in the schools, the teachers, the head teachers, the receptionists, just being really transparent about who I am and what I do, and almost selling. I was a used car salesman, and I've come into this with my auntie, and I'm learning about it. And I think, could I have got in business quicker? Maybe, if I blagged it. But I think I learned more, and I took those individuals on my personal journey by being transparent. I think that helped me. I think I got a more of a relationship with those individuals, and I laughed with them and got to know them better because I told them what the fact was.
Where you're at, yeah. And I think it. I think about it in franchising like that as well. Sometimes I know some of the smaller franchises, they're kind of like, well, we've got to pretend that we're this kind of big organisation, and how do we kind of put this face out there that shows people we know what we're doing and we're all good and stuff like that. But actually, what you probably need at that time is somebody who is a little bit more entrepreneurial and wants and is excited by that challenge of growing it together in some ways. And you will only get that by being open with them and saying, look, I've only got one franchisee, we're going through it, we're 6 months in, things are looking good, we're looking for the second person to come in. And that to a lot of people is going to be really attractive because they get direct access to the person who started and set the whole thing up. But also they've got a little bit of a say, you know. Yeah. You come into a bigger franchise and sometimes it is so templated, it's almost corporate, and you don't get to see the founder because there's 300 people between you and the guy at the top, you know, sort of thing. So yeah, that openness and honesty piece I think is really important. Yeah. And it's helped me to get better relationships in the franchising world as well, just
being exactly who you are. Yeah, it's a funny piece of work, that, actually. I need to remember that for the future. I kind of like that anyway. I don't think I'll ever make the mistake again of trying to front it when I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I think sometimes I find myself do it a little bit, but then just correct it. That's what I do. That's what I find myself doing more is I did it with Kay earlier, right? So she said about, was it transition something or other?
Oh yeah, transitional skills.
Transitional skills, and I started to say, oh yeah, and then I went, no, I don't know what that means. So, what is that?
Okay, he's got no transitional skills at all. I think.
But you know what I mean? Like that, I don't necessarily mean in like trying to blag or sell something, but just in every day, like you do it, don't you? You just naturally go, oh yeah, I know what that is. And
yeah, it's them little white lies you don't want to do anymore.
Yeah, but I'm trying to. Well, I do. I pretty much cut that out and just say,
same.
Actually, I don't know what I'm on about. Tell me more.
Yeah, it's actually quite nice to pretend that you don't. Or not pretend, just say you don't know. It's nice.
Yeah,
I do it quite a lot in franchising because it's like Theo, for instance. Or I'm trying to think of them. Theo's a good example, but he knows quite a lot about business. Or John Preston from Mathnasium. So John and Theo, you get around the table with them two and start talking about figures. Like within 20 seconds, I'm like, I ain't got a fucking clue what you're talking about. I don't want to speak to you. Do you get what I'm saying? But they both know me well enough, and I've got a nice relationship with them both well enough. And I'm like, just explain that to me, dumb it down for me, and tell them what it's about, and I can get on the same level of conversation with you. And I think if I hadn't had a word of myself and kind of done the same thing you're doing, I would have just got lost in the conversation and been nodding and walked away dumb, away feeling inferior. But instead I walk away with a book to read, an half-decent conversation and some interest in the subject. Yeah. And I think that's the same thing, isn't it, of just not telling them little white fibs or pretending and just not dumbing yourself down, but just saying I don't know.
Yeah, I think everyone does it at the end of the day. And it is not battle. That's the wrong word, but it's something you consciously have to do to start off with. I'm finding it more natural now than I used to, but yeah, it's important.
Is it an age thing? That do you think? How old are you?
21, mate. No, 41.
Yeah, same as me. 42.
Yeah.
I think it's a male age thing. It must be. I think you just kind of get sick of your own bullshit. Well, I do.
Maybe.
I did.
Yeah.
I think when Tom died, I definitely went through that piece of work. I was like, I'm no longer being anyone I don't want to be, in a nice way. I'm unapologetically myself, but non-offensive.
Yeah.
I think that's... Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
I think the time that I sort of changed a lot of the way I am and the way I was is so after doing all of the recruitment stuff, I needed to do what I actually wanted to do, because I kind of fell into it because it was like, right, that was use my brain sort of thing. But I've always wanted to do something creative, really, I think. So yeah, it was when I was watching a lot of TV, and just consuming all the time. And what happened is I saw something on social media or something like that, and I was like, it said there are two types of people in the world. They're either consumers or creators. Mm-hmm. Which one you choose to be will determine whether you're forever chasing your own tail, trying to pay for stuff, or if you're creating the life that you want for yourself, being the creator. And that's when, I was like, actually, that's what I want to be, is more of a creator and build stuff. I've lost complete track of where I was going with that, but
yeah, I think I don't know where you're going to go, but you were talking about a period in your life where you just decided to do that. I don't really know, but I hear what you're saying about the creative piece and wanting to give back instead of just consuming all the time, and it's a nice space to be. You like music, don't you? Yeah, that's another thing side of you. Is it? Have you played music forever?
No.
When did you start playing the guitar?
4 or 5 years ago.
Is it? Is that? Do you think? Why did you
like
start?
I say, I think that message on social media, whatever it was, it just really woke me up and was like, yeah, I need to sort something out. I think because in recruitment, I wasn't enjoying it. Mm-hmm. I think there was a moment in recruitment where I was leading a team, and two of the team members weren't performing as well. We were trying to build a new desk, and we were getting there slowly, but just had our best month as we were building it, and the next month was dire, like almost nothing on the table. And I went and spoke to the MD and said, what can I do? Like, I've tried incentivising them, I've tried having a bit of a go. What do I do? You need to get out there and make more calls. And he banged the table, and I was like, I've done that. Yeah. He said, no, just more calls. And I was like, you've got nothing else to teach me, have you?
Yeah, you're done.
Yeah. And so we just had a kid at that time, and so I was feeling the pressure to keep working, keep on making the money, keep on getting the commission come through, so that could sustain everybody. And it just started to pull a weight on my shoulders more and more and more. And I was just like, I hated it. Hated getting up in the morning. Hated doing stuff. And that social media post just helped bring me out of it and move it into a different mind. And I started writing down my core values and what I was good at, what I wasn't, what I wanted to do, what I definitely didn't want to do. And I started looking for creative roles. But of course, nobody wants a recruiter to be a creative person, right? They missed that there is a lot of creative stuff that I was doing, and understand the sales and marketing piece, because you do as a recruiter, right? That you do sales and marketing. So it wasn't until 18 months in that I got an opportunity of searching for jobs that I got the opportunity with expense reduction analysts, who I think like their recruitment background. They were like, yeah, we're getting to do a bit of sales as well.
Yeah.
But again, I'm losing track again, mate. Like,
no, it's not.
I'm just rambling.
No, you're not. It's great. So just talk to me about what do they do in analysts?
So expense reduction analysts, they'll go into a company and look at everything within their costs, in their P&L, and just go, okay, we could probably save you money on your stationery, on your energy bills, on water, on transportation, fuel, whatever it is, right?
What was your role? Was you went to do that way, or were you brought in to be an analyst?
No, so I came in as the franchise recruitment marketing coordinator for EMEA. That's the
franchise
title. Recruitment marketing coordinator for EMEA.
Wow. And tell me about that. Is that your first role into that? Was it franchising? That's how you got into franchising?
That's how I got into franchising, yeah. And I'll be honest, when I saw the advert, I was like, fucking boring shit this sounds like. Do you know what I mean? And then it was a little bit at the point where I was like, well, what other options have I got? Let's go along to the interview, see what they're like. And I met two guys that absolute legends, absolutely love them. And there's a French guy, Florian. And it was like we'd lived the same life to some degree. It was so cool, and we just connected really well, and I loved that. And then the kind of final meeting was with the guy who'd become my boss, Arndt Halbach. He's from Germany. Coiffed, blonde hair, such a cool guy. Sort of rocks in and goes, yeah, cool, yeah. Asked a couple of questions. Right, you in? We're going to Barcelona next week if you're up for it. And I was like, yeah, this is brilliant. And then what happened is, you start to learn about ERA and what they're doing actually at the cutting edge of business, because all the new technologies that come out are really useful to help companies save money, optimize what they're doing. So actually you find out all these little stories, and it's really interesting. But my remit, my role was really to look at lead generation, but also a bit of everything. Like with every franchise company, it doesn't matter the size. They've got about 1,000 franchisees now. Doesn't matter. Everybody internally wears many hats with any organisation and any franchise organisation. And so I was doing various things like writing articles at times for what franchise. I was creating social media posts. I was running LinkedIn LinkedIn campaigns. I started doing calls, so was doing a bit of headhunting for them, which was trying to get into new territories, and so it was a case of like going out and finding the right people, and so using a lot of that recruitment experience. We were redesigning the processes, so it's a big part of that, and was taking a lot of what I learned in recruitment and bringing that to the table. Then we started recruiting people to qualify calls and do that kind of headhunting at the front end, so training them up. We had country managers who were in the EMEA region, who I don't know if you know it or not, but I know a lot of people don't in the industry, so I'll explain it, I guess. But area developers are like master franchisees, but they have less responsibility. The head office still support them a lot, so they'll do the training, whereas a master franchisee will have the training there maybe within their own team. The area developers can utilise the head office team a lot more for marketing and training and all that kind of good stuff. So the country managers, I was working with them to help them improve their leads.
Were you doing all the countries, Ed? Were you doing all the world, or just England, or?
No, so I didn't start off with too much with England. I was doing more Europe.
Mad that, innit? Do you not think that was like a blessing in disguise? Like, what a fucking opportunity, really? Yeah,
so, like I say, I'd start off with, you're like, this looks boring. Then it got exciting, and then you kind of... So I had Fred, who's the founder of the company, his office was like just over there. Yeah. And every day he'd have a new thing that he wanted me to do and create, and it's like, Fred, I haven't done yesterday's thing. Like, and you're taking up an hour of my time and stuff like that. And you're sort of a bit frustrated at the time a little bit. But what I realised is I learned so much from him, insane amounts. Like, I didn't even realise that. Like, I talk to people about the challenges they're facing today, and I'm like, oh, I know what to do there because Fred's told me about that. It's amazing. So yes, there were two things. So there was that side of it with Fred. I got a lot of learnt massive amounts from him and from Arns as well, and from Paolo, from all the guys there. They're all really smart, intelligent, dynamic people, moved fast, which is good. But also because I was doing all these different things in the franchise recruitment team, I think I was doing at one point for the country managers 60 discovery calls per month myself as well.
Fucking hell, mate. Good, what a fucking turn of events though for you getting that job, innit?
Yeah, I mean, did the marketing stuff, that was great. But then I ended up being dragged back into the recruitment and sales because, you know, there's a bit of commission and stuff to be earned from that.
And it's natural lean to, isn't it? If you can do it, then why not?
Yeah, and it kind of gave me that rounded kind of view of what franchise recruitment is as well, because I've done so many calls, you know,
and also, of course, and I've got the cultural different scale as well, having that ability to talk to different cultures, and then also working directly with the founders, so getting all of them beliefs and values that you wanted to know about, and all them different ways of dealing with different things.
I was kind of used to dealing with people internationally anyway. From all
that's what I'm saying to you, but it's just that being able that transitional skill from recruitment, international recruitment, into that, and then I couldn't offer you that. For Tezlom, I couldn't offer you international recruitment. I could offer you recruitment in the UK, but having and like pretty much you're doing what Kay does job, but like having that ability just to have been on an international recruitment level and then go into do international franchise recruitment. Amazing, isn't it? And then grasping it and using all your skills to do it.
You say that, but you kind of forget. You think it's this whole new thing, like, because a lot of the time it's called franchise sales. It's like, right now I need to be sales, or now I need to do marketing, and so you sort of fall into the tropes of what they are, like what you expect them to be. And then as I sort of do more of it, I was like realising actually it's more like recruitment, because you're talking to people at that point in time in their career or their lives where they need to change something.
Yeah.
The motivations are the same. It doesn't matter if they're looking for another job or what it is. It's not because they want a job. It's because they've got something else in their life that they need to change and tweak. And so they're out there looking for it. And the thing is, most people just go for the job boards because that's all they know is the next option, or start your own business, but that's scary as fuck. So you just go for another job, don't you?
Yeah.
And that, just to sort of tie it back in and around. Actually, no, you said you asked something about did I work international? Like just I did stuff for the UK, so I worked with the UK team, redesigned the process. We've got a new person in.
Yeah.
With stuff. I supported the US team as well with a lot of what they were doing, and the Australian team. I was doing some calls for the Australian team as well at some point. And then I trained the country managers on franchise recruitment when they came in as well. So new guy in Hungary, Qatar, Greece, you know.
Mate, the amount of things you'll have learned and gone to will be amazing, won't it?
Yeah, and a lot of these guys, it's a bit surreal. So there's a guy in Portugal that I sort of supported at early days, and it's like ex-CEO of PepsiCo for Europe or something like that, and you're like, oh, yeah, what's he need help from me for? But you do, because you all have sort of different skill sets, don't you? Yeah. But yeah, to sort of bring it back round, like the thing that I probably learnt most is that there was this thing called franchising. A lot of people have heard me say this before, but I was like, fuck, hang on a minute. There's all these other brands out there, like that. Dog walkers, there's website developers, there's recruitment companies, all this kind of stuff. And I was like, I could have been doing something creative a lot sooner than I am now if I'd have been aware of it as an option. Like, could have gone from putting up marquees and just got myself sorted and got straight into it. So in my early 20s and done it, rather than going through a 10-year.
I think sometimes you've got to do something you've got to learn your lessons. I genuinely believe this. I think in like between school and whatever age, you have to do something you know you don't want to do anymore. Like, I sold cars, I was mega right, I loved it to pieces. I don't regret a day doing it, but fucking I wouldn't do it again.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it again. I sold my soul for that job, but it taught me loads of skills. I made some really good friends. I enjoy going to work every day, and it taught me a lot of things, but I think you have to do something enough to realise you don't want to do it anymore. So find something you love.
Yeah, I'm not saying back then I would have done franchise. I probably would have gone, that's a fucking scam, screw that, what, you know. But it just wasn't an option. Didn't enter into my sphere at all until I went and worked for ERA and or ERA Group as they're called now. I should say that more, ERA, not ERA. But yeah, they opened my eyes to that world, and it kind of pissed me off that I wasn't out there a bit more. And you sort of start to think, well, why don't people know about it more? And everyone just thinks McDonald's and it's a scam, but there's this whole spectrum in between, like there is in everything in life. And that's when I kind of then decided, well, I need to do something about it. So that's when I started the Disenfranchised podcast, just to try and educate the world a little bit on things. So,
do you think having your first child was the reason why you kind of wanted to change? Do you think it made you change things?
I told you I've got a bad memory on some of this stuff, so I'm not sure. Maybe a little bit.
Made me change my thing. Like, I think there's points in a man's life that I think make you dramatically change things about yourself. My personal opinion, I think.
Yeah, you're probably right, but I just
never thought about it.
I don't think back.
Yeah, you live in the present moment. I love that about you.
Often.
Nice, isn't it, Kay? Do you know what I think?
Too much though, at times.
Yeah. I wish I had a little bit of it sometimes, because I riddle myself with anxiety and worry about things sometimes, and I should just live. My mum's got the most amazing ability to be like that. My mum has the best. She's the best person in the world at saying not stressed. You're very similar. You don't seem to get very stressed.
Not really.
No.
But it's funny. So the time when I felt most stressed was probably before I left recruitment. And so I lived at one end of the high street and worked pretty much at the other end. So my days, all it was back and forth along that high street, stop on from the pub on the way home, getting a kebab and then going home, and that sort of stuff. But in my younger years, sort of in that 16, 17 sort of period, or even sort of to the early 20s, I was outside all the time, going out and about to different places of the county, putting up marquees. But even then, in the evenings, I'd go out on my bike until the pub opened, and I'd be cycling 20 miles with my mates or something like that. And then going into that period where I was just seeing the high street, I think that added to it. And it wasn't until I was like, right, I'm going to get back out on my bike again. And me and my mate got a bike. And I remember I cycled down this country lane and I saw a crow or a rook or something like that on a fence post. And I was like, wow, this is just so amazing. Sounds shit like what nutter, right? But at that point in time, I realised that actually just got to get out about it a bit more and appreciate those moments, because the stuff that we've built with humans great and stuff like that, but actually just nature and appreciating just the stuff that's around you.
Has it always been a part
really
of life, cycling? Has it always been something you kind of done?
On and off. Like, I'm not like a serious cyclist like some people, but
because running's something new into your life, or have you always done running as well?
I used to run for fun when I was waiting for my mates to come finish work.
Yeah.
Like, I just get around the football pitch and just run around it until I was like, right, that's time. So running, cycling, always done a bit of it, but never super seriously with any of it. I've done.
Can you remember why you did it? Was it to deal with stress or to deal with life, or was it just because you loved the exercise side of it? Or
yeah, I guess I enjoyed it. And maybe it's the freedom of it.
Yeah.
Especially cycling is more the freedom of it, because it's just peace and quiet.
Yeah.
And seeing different stuff. I always see like interesting things, or at least I turn them into interesting things maybe when I retell the story. So I went for a walk the other day, right? So I've come out of my house, gone round the corner, and as I'm walking along, a Merc's just pulled up alongside me, and a bloke walked out of the house, and I've just got this whiff of weed all of a sudden. Then they've done this little handshake, and the car's driven off, and I was like, so that's a drug deal, right? Okay, I keep on walking, gone through into sort of a new sort of route for me to walk, and found a couple shagging in the field.
No,
I was like, what the hell's going on? And then I've gone a bit further, and this train's come past, and it's the Pullman train. It's one of these fancy ones with all the like curtains and stuff where people are sitting there having meals. And I was just like, this is fucking ace. Like,
what random
it's hilarious. Like, but those sorts of things always just seem to happen to me. It's always me who's got that weird story to tell. So I don't know what you asked. I just had to tell that story.
No, it's good. I think there's something. Getting outside and moving is definitely a big part of my life. I do it for stress. Really, definitely, I do it because I feel like I'm going to blow up if I don't go outside. But I didn't always used to be like that. For years and years and years, I didn't care. It wasn't until I lost Tom that I really started to focus on it. I went to the gym quite a lot from a younger age, from like my late 20s. Didn't really care about it. Maybe in my 30s, actually. When was it, Charlene? 28, maybe, started at the gym. And it was just because I was fat and overweight and sick of drinking and blah, blah, blah. And then from that point onwards of now, it's just like a big part of my life. And probably going to end up doing high rocks next year or something like that. Or go and do an ultra run or something like that. But yeah, for me, it's that piece of, forgetting about life for a little bit and getting out of my head.
Yeah, I think because I live in the present, I just appreciate some of the little things that a lot of people might be head down on their walk somewhere or something like that. But I'll just have a look around and just be like entertained by some of that. Something. There's sometimes there's just little things that amuse me as well. Like I'm listening to music or something like that while I'm running, and then you see someone going the other way walking and they're sort of waddling and they're just going along to the beat of the music, and I'm just like, that's so it makes me chuckle just because
it's a little thing.
It's just weird how that coincidence happens, you know. And
there's two nice little traits there, isn't it? You've got this rebellious side of like, I'm not adhering to certain things, and then you've got this really nice living in the present moment, haven't you?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
It sometimes goes though, I think.
Is it?
Yeah. Because at some point life sort of takes over a bit more, doesn't it? And you have to get serious about stuff because...
Kids, mortgages, wives...
all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. But trying to live and doing it most of the time.
Yeah, and I think getting out and about is probably one of the easier ways to do that, isn't it? You know,
process and things. Yeah. What's the script now, Ed? What are we on with now? Where are we up to with work now? What are we doing now?
So, starting a business, right? Did the podcast, got to know a lot of people, saw that I'd learnt more than I thought I had at Era, and could maybe help in two ways. Help to educate the world on franchising as an opportunity, but also help franchisors. I probably started with the first one a bit more in the front end, but the more I kind of got into the business, I realised actually probably one of the better ways is to help franchisors to go about doing it the right way. Not there's the right way for everyone. Every business is different, right? But what I mean is try and move away from stock photos and putting that front up of we're a great organisation and just selling, you know.
Yeah, 1980s.
Yeah, trying to connect more with people and caring about who you actually bring on board, not just volume, numbers, that kind of thing. But also, you know, you see it on social media. A lot of people, when they put posts out, it's, are you interested in buying a franchise? And I'm like, nobody's sitting there going, oh, thank God that post has arrived. Yes, I have been looking and I've just been waiting for you to post that right there. And then it doesn't happen. That's not how you connect with someone. You've got to be, you've got to provide them value in their life, whether it's entertaining, educational, relatable. You know, you've got to connect with them that way first, so they become a brand fan, is what I call them, and then you can start to sort of sell to those people because you know they're your followers, they're your fans, and I say sell, introduce to them the idea that actually they can be part of this, stuff like that. So yeah, that's kind of where the high level overview of where it went, but just dive a bit deeper, I guess. I started off with a clear idea of what I was going to do, then lost my way. Just everyone needed something different and started to go all over the place, doing all sorts of different things.
Because you can.
Because I could. I'm quite good at turning my hand to things pretty quickly as well, so podcast editing became a thing that's just in my wheelhouse. Video editing, graphic design, copywriting, then consultative side of things on various different elements, a bit of sales training in there as well, you know, just
everything.
Lead generation, bit of everything. And I said to you, and I said to a few people, put a post out recently that went through a bit of an identity crisis earlier on this year because a couple of things dropped out, all amicable. It was all good, and it all made sense. I understood why we stopped working together. But I was just looking at the next month, going, "Fuck, what am I going to do? Right, I've got to go back out and push the accelerator a little bit. Do some business development." And I was like, "Well, how do I do that? Because I don't even know what the fuck I'm supposed to be doing. I haven't got myself a job title. I'm just the nice guy who sort of helps people out here and there, but no one really knows what I do." So I spent a good few months sussing that out, with a lot of help from a lot of people along the way. So a big person I'd want to shout out to is Simon Bishop. He was the one who sort of gave my head a wobble when I was like, I might just jack this in. Like, I'm shit at it, don't know what I'm doing. And yeah, he was just like, hang on a minute, look at what you've built so far. And I did all the sensible stuff, and I was annoyed at him for it, but honestly appreciative of all of that. Tim Morris as well has been massive help along the way, and just kind of helping. But I actually, one of the big things was paying for somebody external to all of that to just go through it and say, what is it you actually do? And that's why in the intro I was a lot more precise in what it is that I do, right? Like, I spent a lot of time to get to that point, launching the website, all of that kind of good stuff. And
brand personality. What are you doing exactly?
Yeah, I was, with the website initially, I was like, I don't really want my face plastered all over it. I'm actually, some people will be surprised. I don't know, I put my face out there a lot. There's no pictures between the ages 16 and 30, well, until I had a kid, basically, of me, because I just didn't really want to be in front of the camera.
You're not?
I still don't really enjoy it now, but I do it because I know it's important to help people connect with me and know who I am,
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people like being in front of the camera, but you've got to push yourself to do these things, haven't you?
Yeah, I say that. Like I say, some days I love it. More so on video, maybe, when I'm pissing around with something or other, but yeah.
So what exactly do you do? Tell me what you do for a job. What's you doing now?
So 3 things with a franchisor, really. So this is the levels, right? I've got the front end strap line. The 3 levels are audit. So look at a franchise company's franchisee recruitment and just see what they've got and understand what it looks like from the perspective of the other person, from the person who's potentially applying to their brand. So part of that's a mystery shop. Part of that is going through the website and just seeing what that franchise page looks like. How easy is it to find out that they're a franchise? Looking at the social media profiles, have they actually got anything on there that mentions they're a franchise? Because they're just like little subliminal messages that can help. McDonald's have it on theirs. We're a network of local businesses that operate under a franchise model. If they're doing it, why the fuck isn't everyone else doing it on their social media profiles? So it's looking at all those little things, and I've got a system where I score it out of 80 or 100, depending on the package. And then move into a strategy workshop, so taking the feedback from that and going, right, well, what needs fixing? How are we going to build this out? And a lot of the times what I find is that people don't have a franchisee recruitment process in place. So from application, what happens, through to signature. So I help them to design and build that out for themselves with communication plan as part of it as well. Some sales training in there because
people might need it.
Yeah. No one's really taught how to sell franchises, are they?
No.
And
I was taught by my dad,
but yeah, do you know what I mean? But a lot of franchisors that start out,
they haven't got a clue. They've decided they want to start franchising, but they do what they do. They don't know how to sell franchises.
But they might be given a process and say you have that sort of conversation. But what I found really valuable for me in my early days in recruitment was a call structure, so that I knew how to control the call and push it into the direction that I wanted to. People would be bored of this one, but because I forgot about that when I went into franchising and did the first franchise recruitment calls, forgetting it, I spoke to someone for 2.5 hours, thought it was going so well. I was like, man, this guy is going to sign like imminently. It feels like that. And then I just sort of had this little thing sort of come back from when I was from recruitment. I was like, when can you start something like this? Oh, not for 2.5 years, mate, and 3 years. I was like, oh, fuck, I've wasted his time and mine. I've ballsed up. So yeah, all those little things that you don't get, a lot of people don't get taught. I'm just trying to help them put a structure around that so they can control and understand and make the most of their time, optimize their time and that of the prospective franchisee. Because if they're just not going to be right, you need to get them out quicker, rather than wasting everyone's time. So yeah, that training piece, not everyone needs it, but there is a bit of it that I put in there as well. And then the final bit, because you go through and look at that process, you identify where there's gaps. So sometimes people don't have franchise testimonial videos, or the brochure needs a bit of tweaking, or the website copy needs changing, or there's all sorts of different bits.
Everything.
That's marketing sort of really off the back of it.
I'll be honest with you, every brand needs it, don't they? Everyone could look at it every 12 months and have any company.
I had to do it for my business as well. So yeah, you're right. And so so I do some of the video editing myself, but really what happens is I engage with, I've got a videographer I use on a regular, I've got a copywriter I use regularly, I've got VAs that work with me in the background. So whilst at this time it seems like it's just me, actually I've worked with a number of different people to deliver various aspects of it. But you're saying earlier about the personal brand sort of thing, that on my website, I was like, no, I want to seem like I'm a bit of a bigger company. And then I realised actually it's in stages. I've got who was it who said this recently? Richard Few. I was speaking to him last night about it, from Sales Geek, founder of Sales Geek. They've grown massively as well, by the way. Have you had him on yet?
No.
Do it. He's great. Anyway, he's talking about you've got to do what you need to do at that time to get to the next level. Yeah. So if right now I need to be the face of it, I'm going to be the face of it until
you bring some more teams on.
Yeah, exactly. Till get to that point where now I need to get to the next level, and they can be at the front of it and stuff like that.
Bring your team and they can be a part of it.
Yeah, but it feels a lot better having that clarity now. This is what I am. This is what I do, and so I push forwards.
I think it's the right thing as well, what you're doing based upon your past experience, and I think you'll definitely add value. Yeah,
I mean, I know I do. And that sounds big-headed and confident. That's that side of me coming out, but yeah, definitely do, because you can see it. There's one particular brand they hadn't recruited for 18 months, 2 years. They'd been using a consultant to recruit for them.
Not got anything.
They didn't recruit any. I found out that as part of the mystery shop, that the consultant was selling other brands, asking 2 questions and then selling other brands for whatever reason. And I just was like, that's why, mate, because
he's picking the ones he wants.
Yeah, okay. I don't know. I've not had 20 calls with that guy, but it was like, that's part of your problem. They had 3 different emails come through from different sources, from the consultant, from themselves, and from a different brand that was part of their remit. But I was like, it's confusing for the person. Yeah. So we went through and did that whole process, basically. Apart from the back end, they did all the marketing piece themselves. But yeah, within 6 months, I think they had somebody on board, and they finished out the 12 months. Should have been 3, but I think the person dropped out at the end. But yeah, so not big numbers there, but there's a big difference when you look at 2 years without nothing or a year and a half without nothing.
Yeah, mate, you'll smash it. I've had enough conversations when you've been around enough. You'll be absolutely fine. I think you can't wait to see what happens next year. Tell me what stories you've been up to and what you've been doing.
We'll see, because you never know, do you?
Well, you never know anything in life. Nothing's ever certain.
No.
I'm trying to take a bit of that. I want to leave today and try and live in the present moment a little bit from today. I think it's a good trait about you, mate. I like that about you.
Yeah.
I'm going to cover. I think I've finished, Kay. I think I've got everything I want out of it. The only one I was going to ask you about was dealing with being a dad and running your own business, and the different. Have you thought about the differences between when you had your career and being self-employed? Have you noticed your difference being a different dad, or do you think?
No.
I feel like
not a massive amount.
Yeah, no, I feel like you probably haven't.
But I think being a business owner has helped to think about how I approach situations with them. You sort of don't want your kids to make the mistakes that you've made, do you?
Yeah.
Which sometimes I look at it and go, I haven't made mistakes. It's just all brought me to this point right now, which is good. But in other times, you just think, I could have done that sooner. I could have done that better. And you do, and so it impacts you in that way. Whether or not that's positive, I don't know. But
I think what you're trying to say is you have lessons from life, don't you? And you want to push it onto your kids as soon as possible so they don't have to go through the same thing. But I think that everyone has to go through them things to push them to do them certain things.
Yeah, but I think being around other business people and hearing how they approach stuff, it helps to kind of hold you back from being too pushy or things like that. So there's maybe a bit of that. Running my own business, I spend more time with the kids, definitely, which is good. But also I learn a lot from them as well. Like we were saying at the beginning, really, look at that perfect way to sort of wrap it all up, right? But yeah, I learn stuff from them and see how they interact. And like, yeah, man, I've got to do more like that. I've got to be more like that. Approach it like that. Yeah. Especially, it's like my son at the minute, he's been defiant. He's been a real challenge, but you see him trying so hard to just temper something, so not react instantly in the moment and try and wait until he's calmed himself a little bit. Like, he tries so hard to do that, and I'm really proud of him for that. And I think we all could do better with that sometimes in business. You sort of have that instant reaction of, this is shit and whatever. Like I did with the identity crisis. It's like, fuck this. Actually, if you take that step back and give yourself a moment, you probably make the right decision.
I'll sleep on it. Yeah.
So I was listening to Darren Brown's Boot Camp for the Mind. It's called his podcast. He talks about the two parts of your brain. So you've got one, which is the get away from that lion part of your brain, which makes the quick decisions. And then you've got the second part, which is a little bit more slower thinking. And that's your biggest challenge, is overcoming that number one reaction kind of thing. But you do that by stepping back, don't you?
Yeah, it's tough on that, mate. I think that's a big leadership skill as well. That non-reactive part is fucking difficult. I think I would like to say I'm really good at it in work. I do actually think I'm good at it, but some personal things, I just freak out. I can't help it, but I'm getting better at it. The one thing that my mum's taught me really, really well is to sleep on stuff. Don't react. Stop. And also don't let other people make you react. I learned a big lesson last year, or it might have been the year before actually, with someone at work for me. And they said something, did something, and someone else, I was going to leave it, and someone else influenced me, and I reacted, and it went really badly. And I thought to myself, I am never doing that again. If I make a decision based upon that, I'm not being influenced by someone else to react. I'm going to just stick to my guns, because not reacting a lot of the time is the best thing to do. People might not agree with that, but that's what I find.
Yeah. I'll just again, being honest with the person and just saying, cool, thanks for your input. I just need to take a minute.
Yeah.
Take a moment to think about this.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm going to call it a day, this podcast. I've covered everything I possibly can. I think I got everything out of it I wanted. I really appreciate you coming on, mate.
No worries.
I wish you all the best of luck with 2025.
Cheers, man. It's been good.
Cheers.